Welcome back to the Two Pad Stack podcast. I'm your host, Ace. Alongside me, my wonderful co-host, Jake Reiser. Jake, how are you, my dude?
I'm doing great. It feels way more like hockey season. We're finally in November. The weather's a little chilly out, a little bit of Christmas in the air. You're drinking a nice beer. I just had a cider martini earlier in the evening. Like, life's feeling good. It's really feeling like hockey season again.
Yep, sipping on a out of hibernation pale ale from Backhill Beer Company, our collaboration beer. You all already know well about. So, it's a beautiful, beautiful beverage, a beautiful time of year, and I'll tell you what, man, it is feeling like November out there. Um, really chilly weather at night. I actually have had to start up the pellet stove in my neck of the woods to get the house nice and warm. I don't know if you had like bad wind down in Boston yesterday or not,
Oh,
but it was crazy here in New Hampshire yesterday.
absolutely insane. I took my dog out to the dog park that's around the corner from me. I had to put on like a Sherpa jacket for her because first time it was like 45 degrees when I let her out yesterday morning. But also I had to keep her on her leash because I'm like, she's gonna fly. She's like a 8-pound dog. She would fly away if I didn't have her tethered to me. So man, it was windy as hell, cold as hell.
I have the opposite problem. If my dog flew away, I would fly away with them because Bjorn is approximately 175 pounds. So, but yeah, it was crazy. I mean, hey, why not? I mean, you saw the TikTok video or the video I posted on Twitter. Bjorn knows how to throw hands. So, but it was really a weird day. Like on Friday, it's like end of month. I'm in sales. If you don't know, my professional career is in sales, so it's a very hectic time of year for us. But I'm trying to like line things up to have a good end of the month, and we just recently bought a new car, and my daughter like wanted to ride in the new car to school, which is sort of like I totally get it. Like that's fun. And the spot in which she would usually sit and wait for her bus stop, a giant branch fell off of our tree and landed right where she would be at that time. Like it was like a final destination moment. And I had to go out with like a chainsaw and cut this thing up for like 2 hours. Like, thank goodness we knew like an older gentleman who needed wood for like cutting it up and putting it into his wood stove for heat this winter, and we were able to donate the wood. But like it could have been a really rough situation here in the Ace household.
That sounds like so Deus Ex Machina. Like just like the one event of your daughter wanting to ride in the car saved her from being under where that tree would have hit.
Yeah, like it would have been a real like this is like I'm not kidding. The thickness of this branch was like a full size tree. It was like a foot and a half thick. Like it was not a good situation. So like thank goodness everything turned out all right. And it was just a crazy, crazy day here. But hey, y'all aren't here to hear me talk about my weather problems. But we're here to talk about some Bruins hockey and what's going on around the black and gold. And man, it's been a little bit of time since Jake and I talked about the Boston Bruins. Last time we were live at Backhill Beer Company, shout out them. But we've got some Beast hockey to talk about, and we got a lot of games to talk about, so we're gonna kind of just rattle through them relatively quickly. We'll just kind of give our quick talking points. We've got, the good, the bad, the ugly, or as we're gonna name this episode, this team's kind of showing like a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on right now. What are your thoughts before we dive into the individual games, Jake?
Man, it has been one hell of a roller coaster ride the last couple of weeks. Last time we had talked, we were at Back Hill. The Bruins had just lost to Vegas. They were on a little bit of a losing skid, but just wait till you hear where that went.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we had kind of set the table a little bit, vibes are still a little high. The team had a great start to the season, kind of got punched in the face a little bit once or twice, and then they're like, hey, let's finish out this West Coast trip strong. You take maybe a couple of those games and win them, and bada bang, bada boom, you're cooking with gas. So what do you do when you're trying to get that going? Oh, I mean, who do you have next? The Colorado Avalanche. Tell me about that game, Jake.
So Beecher slotted back into the lineup. I think this was an interesting game that I think they had VL in Vegas and then Beecher on the fourth line in Colorado. He happened to score very quickly on. And then the rest of the game was absolute misery. The Bruins got manhandled every single step of the way. Nathan McKinnon scored 2 goals. They're just such a speedy, fast, phenomenally talented team from top to bottom, and the Bruins just couldn't keep up with it and lost 4-1.
It seemed like a team that the Bruins just, like you mentioned, they were just outmatched. It was like the ECHL team versus a upper echelon AHL team. It just like just the skill differential between these two teams was staggering. The plays that Colorado was making, the ease of which they were able to gain the offensive zone and zip that puck around. I almost felt like when it was 5-on-5, it was like the Boston Bruins were on a penalty kill.
Exactly.
So there was not really any moment in which we were like, okay, the Bruins might have a chance getting back into this one. It was basically over pretty quickly. It didn't look like they were going to be able to claw their way back into this one. So final score 4-1 Colorado. And what do you do after a rough game? You try to just hit the reset button, and they head over to Utah, who's a very young and up and coming team and doing really well to start the season out in the Western Conference. Give me your cliff notes on this one, Jake.
So I just want to make a quick note of something about Utah. Since they announced their mascot, Tusky, they went on an 8-game winning streak. So credit to them. Unfortunately, that winning streak happened to run into the Boston Bruins too. They did get 2 goals from David Pastrnak, which was great for them, but they just couldn't seem to hold any sort of a lead. The third period, they got totally outplayed. The first couple of periods, very penalty prone, very chippy, but just you could start to see the dismay was there, that they were not thrilled that they're not playing a full 60-minute effort, and a team like Utah could scrap their way past them.
I will have it known that I am a Tusky detractor, not a fan. I know we talked about it briefly in the last episode. Not a big Tusky guy. But still, you're right. It's still better than whatever Seattle rolled out there. That was not great. The thing with this one is that it was still close. I felt like the Bruins were still in this one comparatively to like the Colorado game, where I felt like, when you have Martin Necas, who just recently signed that massive deal, and I kind of want to talk about that a little later on, but Marty Necas signs that massive deal. He's just zipping around the offensive zone. You have Nathan McKinnon doing Nathan McKinnon things. You have a guy on the blue line, Cale Makar, doing something that none of the Boston Bruins defenders can do. Like, it was men against boys. But Utah's game, it was like, all right, I feel like Utah's still young enough to make poor decisions in their defensive zone. And that never kind of came to fruition in this game. So
Utah has a better roster than we all think they do. Nick Schmaltz, Clayton Keller, Dylan Gunther are now veterans. Lawson Krause, they got JJ Paterka in the offseason from Buffalo. Logan Cooley is still a rookie, which is good.
Sergachev is doing some work over there too.
He's probably bleeding the hell out of that defense. And then Karel Vejmelka is, and I don't know, Vitek Vanacek, I guess, is fine, but like, they're a better team than I think people give them credit for.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I think that they're going to, based upon this performance already so far this year, they're probably going to punch their ticket to the postseason in the Western Conference. So it'll be fascinating to see what Utah looks like in their postseason debut. I will say I watched I think all of this game. I can't remember exactly. I wasn't super impressed with the attendance. Like, you'd think, like, being on your second year, that the vibes would still be immaculate and you'd be filling that bar. There was a lot of empty seats there in Utah.
I think it's the opposite of Seattle, though, where Seattle was gunning for a hockey team. They really needed it. This came on like such a whim. I think they need to build the demand in the city, which I think it's going to come. They look like they're going to be a successful team for the future.
Good point.
It will come. It's just the opposite of, like, they weren't as hockey hungry as a team like Seattle.
That's a good point. I feel like Seattle's award of an expansion team was market driven, and yet Utah getting a team was owner driven. Like, it was I'm already here. This is where my team needs to be. I'm going to buy that team and move it here. Please, fans, come to my game, as opposed to, we want a fucking team. Like, bring us a team over in Seattle. So I think you'd hit the nail on the head there, and that's pretty obvious. But I'll give Ryan Smith and the ownership team in Utah credit after seeing details on that practice facility that they just finished in, like, I feel like what must have been like 6 months, like a 2-sheet set of like practice facilities, like a beautiful bar and grill overlooking it. Like, you compare that. The Vancouver Canucks still don't have a practice facility. Francisco Aquilini, the owner of the Vancouver Canucks, still has not invested in a Canucks-owned practice facility. So
I'll also give him credit for what he's doing at Delta Center too. Granted, there's still another off season of renovations to be done, but he knew that Delta Center, as an originally basketball-centric rink, needed to be renovated. And so he's like, I don't want this to be a Barclays Center where when we're watching hockey, you've got shitty sight lines. It might muck with the attendance numbers a little bit by getting rid of some seats or moving some things here and there. But he recognized that, and he's making the effort to make that barn actually hockey enjoyable and not just, oh, we're fitting a hockey arena in a basketball stadium.
Yeah. So the West Coast trip ends. Meh, like the sound of a fart. And what happens next? The Boston Bruins come back home and they welcome old friend Brad Marchand, his first game back at TD Garden as a Florida Panther. And this was an emotional one for me personally, for everybody at the Garden. I was there. I brought even Amelia. Amelia was with me. And Amelia, who never really got to see Brad Marchand's, like, she saw the twilight of his black and gold career, but she's up there in the stands with me, and they do that beautiful video that the Bruins put together for him. And she looks at me and she's like, he's crying. I was like, yes, he's crying. She's like, this is emotional. I'm sad right now. I'm like, yeah. That's what happens when you've played like 14 seasons with one singular team and you go back and it was kind of a rough negotiation where both parties let maybe the emotions get the better of them. Hi, Juniper in the background. Good to see you, buddy. And it was an interesting one. I just really it's hard for me to elaborate and kind of like explain my thoughts on it because emotionally I'm like, I feel like the agent of Brad Marchand handled the whole situation inappropriately. Brad Marchand came out afterwards and said, hey, we probably could have found some common ground and made something work, but I'm upset that we didn't. But at the end, I landed in a really good place, and I got my cup, and I got another deal. Like, the Bruins did right by the player in the situation, and I saw a lot of situations on social media where people are like lambasting Don Sweeney and Cam Neely. And believe me, there's a lot that we can give those guys criticism for. There really is. But not extending Brad Marchand to a 6-year agreement when he's already like 30 something, 35, 36 years old, that's not going to be one of the things that I'm going to go ahead and give them a hard time for. I'm 100% in alignment with not doing that deal. And the only team I think that could give him that deal, and I talked about this on the Short Shift podcast, we'll talk about that in a little bit. The only teams that could is a tax-free state, a state income tax-free state like Florida, like Texas, like Nevada, these locations. And it just was a perfect storm to make it work for Brad Marchand being a Florida Panther. We'll talk about the game itself in a second, but before we do that, Jake, what are your thoughts on Marchand's return to TD Garden?
It's okay, Brad. I was crying too. The word I think we're all looking for here is bittersweet. He's still so beloved in this city, and what he did for this organization, he knew he shouldn't be here. He came into the league as a grinder, a pest, a guy to get under your skin. He was a completely different player in 2021 than he was in 2019 than he is today. He contributed to so much of the success of the 2010s of the Boston Bruins. So many moments that are absolutely iconic. But you nail it on the head that it would never have been the right fit for Brad to stay in Boston on a 6-year deal with how much money the Bruins would have to pay out of, even with the rising cap, how much they would have had to suck out of their payroll in order to keep him in Boston. And they did right by the player by putting him in a state where he can keep the money. He won another cup, great for him. He signed an extension. He found a very unlikely friendship with Matt Tkachuk and Sam Reinhart.
Boo!
But it's so bittersweet because you can just think it's all you can think about is what if. What if they were able to find that common ground? What if Brad Marchand were still the captain of the Boston Bruins? And you can think back on everything that he did. So I was absolutely crying like a baby when as soon as they showed him against the glass with his kids and his wife and going on a high kick, I just lost it. Like, this dude meant so much to the city. And while it's tough seeing him on the other side, I'm glad, I think in the end, it all worked out right for everybody. I think the Bruins needed to take that step. I think Brad needed to take that step, to achieve what it seems like he wants in his career.
Yeah. And once again, I'll give my roses to the Boston Bruins front office for how they handled the situation, because allegedly, I don't have any concrete facts behind this, but I had heard that the Boston Bruins had a better offer from the Los Angeles Kings to send Brad out west. And they asked Brad Marchand, hey, what do you want? And Brad had his preference to stay east. And the Bruins acquiesced to that preference to send him to a divisional rival that now they have to play against him for the next 5-6 seasons as a Florida Panther. So
but it ended up working out. When the price came out that it was a conditional second, everyone freaked out. That condition worked out. So now it's a first round pick. It's commensurate to what he should have been traded for in the first place. So I can't be mad.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Boston Bruins are now sitting with 2 first-round picks in the next couple of seasons. So that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So the game itself happens, which was kind of a sideshow to the Brad Marchand shenanigans, as far as I'm concerned. I was waiting for Brad Marchand to do something stupid in this game, just because that's his like why not? I'm back home. Let's have some fun. Let's mix it up.
It
didn't happen, but it was like instantaneous after the puck drops. Boston goes shorthanded early in the first period, and who else gets the primary assist after a little bit of confusion in the crease on a power play goal for the Florida Panthers? Brad Marchand picks up a point just like that, bing, bang, boom, in his return to TD Garden. 1-0 Panthers. But it wasn't it. I mean, I did think that the Boston Bruins fought pretty hard in this game. It was a nice kind of return, similar to what it was in Utah. It was a close, hard-fought game. What are your thoughts on the actual game in this one, Jake?
Honestly, the first period is pretty lackadaisical to me by the Bruins. The second period turned on the Jets a little more. Still went down 2-0. That AJ Greer, another former Bruin, put in the puck in the back of the net. Then that third period was a boat.
Go ahead.
You need one of the sound effect for the boat show.
My bad. I clicked the wrong thing.
2 goals in 2 minutes. Pavel Zacha and Elias Lindholm on the power play to tie it up. A2 Louis Arena makes it 3-2. Geeks with the empty net pulled to make it 3-3. And then the Carter Verhaeghe just trying to throw the puck into the middle of the ice. The puck bounces off of Andrew Peake's leg, past Jeremy Swayman, and in the net with 26 seconds to go. And the Bruins lose in regulation. A game that, in that last minute and a half, went from the highest of highs. Okay, we just totally forced us to go to overtime. We can salvage points. My head was in my hands. I cannot believe that this happened. But in the midst of that losing streak, it felt very Boston Bruins of it.
It did. It felt very.
They were going to lose. Of course, that's how they would lose.
It felt very 2024, 2025 Boston Bruins. I was finding a way to lose is what the entire second half.
So much of this losing streak was we played hard and we found the shittiest way to lose possible.
Yep. So Boston Bruins fall in this one, and they have the young upstart coming. The Anaheim Ducks coming to town, and this one turned into a track meet. Man, what happened in this game, Jack?
Then they're led by now veteran coach Joel Quenneville, who somehow is back in the NHL. Yeah, the defense just abysmal all the way around. Look at the offense. Casey Milstead got on the board. Mason Lowry got on the board. Morgan Geekie, David Pastrnak. But they can't hold a lead. Morgan Geekie tied the game 5-5 in the third period. 30 seconds later, get up the goal to Troy Terry. Mason Lowry tied the game late in the second, 3-3. Early in the third, you go short-handed. You give up a goal to Michael Granlund, 4-3 Anaheim. They just genuinely could not hold a lead in this game whatsoever. Morgan Geekie scores to make it 2 on Bruins early in the second. 2.5 minutes later, Carter Gauthier. 4 minutes later, 3-2 Anaheim, Jacob Trouba. Man, this game probably infuriated me the most out of any on the losing streak that they had, because this should have been a winnable game. The offense was there, the shots were there. We outshot Anaheim 42-30. The defense just did not do them any favors. Neither did the goaltending, but I probably put this more on the defense than anything.
Yeah, it was a rough one. I wasn't tremendously impressed with the goaltending. I'm not blaming it exclusively on the goaltending. Like you said, I think the defense really needs to step up here. I need more from Mason Lohrei. I need Mason Lohrei to be more secure defensively. If you're
We'll
not
talk
going to
about
be
that in a little bit too.
if you're going to be in the lineup and generating things offensively, you need to at least be average defensively if you're going to be, being that offensive stud. So, definitely a rough one, but once again, I mean, the beautiful thing is I'd rather have this skid that they're on in late October versus February, because there's a lot of time for Marco Sturm and the coaching staff to right this ship right now. So, skid is now at 6, I think, after this one.
Yeah, 6 at that
So
point.
6 losses in a row. Vibes are now opposite of immaculate, like just in the dumpster. And who do you have on the precipice coming to visit you next? Oh, the team that absolutely dummied you over in Colorado Web Ball Arena. The Colorado Avalanche, Nathan McKinnon, the McCarr brothers. I don't think Taylor was in this one, but McCarr is there. Everybody's ready. All right, okay, this is gonna be our 7th loss in a row. What happened to this one, Jake?
Way to catch the Avalanche slowly coming down the mountain rather than careening at you. I was talking with a couple Avalanche fans during the whole game. They just looked off the whole time. Yes, Arturi Lehkonen scored 4.5 minutes into the game, but this Avalanche fan was telling me this is not the Colorado Avalanche that they normally see. They looked really lackadaisical, and for once, the Bruins took advantage of it. Mason Lohrei gets a shot in. Victor Arvidsson down low, banks it off the back of Scott Wedgwood for his first goal as a Bruin. Finally, that monkey's off his back to tie the game. And then the Bruins get a 2-on-1. Jeannot, beautiful backhanded pass to Mikey Eastman, like 40 seconds later. Bruins all of a sudden have a 2-1 lead going into the intermission. And you know what? They played hard. They limited Colorado's offense enough. Morgan Geekie exemplified what it means to play a 60-minute effort, that the period isn't over until that horn goes off, scoring that awesome goal with 5 seconds remaining in the second period to give them that cushion. And they needed it, because with the empty net, Arturi Lehkonen scores with 20 seconds left on a tip-in. But that was it. It was actually the most well-thought-out 60-minute effort that I'd seen out of the Bruins in a couple games. And they earned that win for sure.
Yeah, I still think that they were outclassed in this game, but I think that the Marco Sturm defensive stifling game plan that he talked about going into the season, this is the first game that I saw it kind of executed correctly. I feel like. So Boston Bruins come out on the right side of things. They stop the bleeding. And Morgan Geekie's on a heater.
That goal might be one of my favorites in the last month or so. Just catching Wedgwood, absolutely napping that wraparound from behind the net, switching sides. Like, that's, you play to the horn. You don't play because, there's 5 seconds on the clock. I guess that's the end of the period. No, you play the whole 20 minutes, and he certainly got the better of them there.
Yeah. Very pleased so far with a friend of the show, Morgan Geekie's gameplay. I saw that Morgan Geekie was tied with a 5-way tie for NHL goal scoring leader. He was
he has the most goals in the NHL since January 12th of this year. So for basically most of the calendar year of 2025, he's been the best goal scorer in the NHL. David Pastrnak said he could put 50 in if he wanted to. I could very easily see Morgan Geekie having a 40-goal season, honestly.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get stuck on the third line and gets more minutes with Pasta on that top line. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the Bruins vibes are high. Hey, we got a nice win against Colorado. Let's build on this. Let's string a couple wins together. And what do? We go to Ottawa. All right. Oh, old friend Linus. Oh, he's not playing. Okay. Their backups in. That's beautiful. All right. Let's go. Let's get a dub. What happened? What was this game, Jake?
They got absolutely sucker punched by the Ottawa Senators. It's like they didn't take the plane from Bedford to Ottawa. Did they send the P Bruins up at that point? Did they just send their bodies and leave their like corporeal hockey spirits lingering in Boston? Because it looked like they had zero effort for 60 minutes.
No, the Providence Bruins win games, so it wasn't them.
Shout out Providence. Defeated?
They did take their first loss this weekend, but they answered it with another win. So I think they're like 8-1 right now down in Providence. So, but yeah, what was really concerning to me in this one was it just seemed like, and I will be the first one, and I know this. I have a reputation for this. I think there were some questionable calls in this particular game, but what happens when you're shorthanded? You have to put your work boots on and you have to kill the penalty. And the PK unit did not do that. It was an absolute collapse. 4 power play goals against. That's not acceptable. They cannot allow that to happen. So very, very kind of concerned. I was like, okay, what do you do after a loss like this? If you're a professional athlete, you're pissed. You are angry. You want to, have a reason why, so you can look at yourself in the mirror and understand and make an improvement for the next game. So I'm slightly concerned myself personally, and I'm saying, oh God, you just had a 6-game losing streak. This is the kind of game, a loss like this can just hemorrhage and bleed and turn into more losses and more losses and more losses. So I look at the calendar, I'm like, all right, you got the Islanders coming in. You got Matthew Schaefer, #1 overall pick in this draft, who, from all accounts, looks like an absolute stud. Are they going to lose again?
You go down 2-0 in the first 5 minutes of this game, and you think they are, and all of a sudden, they turn it around. Like, just ignore the first period. Those last 2 periods were exactly what Mark Ruffstern wants out of this team. Solid defense, capitalizing on the opportunities. They had 2 power play goals. Guys from up and down the lineup scoring. Geeky, Lindholm, Pasta, Mikey Asimont, Fraser Minton. So you're getting balanced scoring. You save your goaltender, who, granted, he made some great saves in this game. Credit, absolute credit, has to go to Jonas Korpisalo for bouncing back in this one after having some rough games beforehand. He made, 33 saves after, having a rough start to this game and having a rough couple games beforehand?
Absolutely.
The second and third periods are just what I think Marco Sturm wants to see out of this team this year.
Yeah, and the other thing that I really noticed in this game, too, was the ability for the power play unit to really zip the puck around. We talked about it early on in the season. It looked like a different power play team. Steve Spott's unit was just getting it done. Did you see how many power play goals there were in this particular tell? Or
yeah, there were 2 PPGs for the Bees.
Yeah, hey, we take 2. We take 2 all day. So Boston
They were 2 for 4. So they're 50% capitalize on opportunities like that. There's also one player who I didn't mention in this that I want to mention, who I think has such a tremendous impact on the Boston Bruins when he's out of the lineup versus in the lineup, and is the return of Hampus Lindholm from injury.
Great
when
point.
Hammer's in the lineup, we talked about this. Ace and I were together. We'll talk about this at the next game that they played against the Buffalo Sabres. Hammer balances the defense. He makes sure everyone is correctly matched up in that lineup, whether he's playing second line minutes, first line minutes, PK. He creates all of the balance in that lineup. And when he's out, when he's hurt, everybody looks out of sorts.
As Hampus Lindholm goes,
call it an adjustment period. He had been on IR for a bit, but Hammer came in. He added the primary assist on David Pasternak's goal. Credit to him for how much of an impact he has on this team, and that's why he has one of the A's.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's not the first time I've said, as Hampus Lindholm goes, so go the Bruins. He really is the catalyst to the defensive structure for this team. And it's really good to see him back there. And he doesn't look limited at all. And the reports are that he's full go. And I mean, it looks like things are going well for him now that he's back in the lineup. So, who better to welcome to TD Garden when you're trying to build a win than the perpetual losers, Buffalo Sabres? But they didn't make it easy for the Boston Bruins in this one. Already kind of let the cat out of the bag. Bees get the dub here, but tell me about this game, Jake.
We watched it live from high above the ice at TD Garden.
Right.
Ace invited me over, watching from his section and his awesome seats. That first period is everything you wanted out of the Bruins, except for getting outshot. They got outshot in this whole game. I think we sat there going, we're giving up 40 shots to the Buffalo Sabres. Really? But they put pucks in the back of the net when they need to. That Morgan Geeky power play goal, I said that David Pastrnak assist looked exactly like the one he had in opening night in Washington to Elias Lindholm, except Morgan Geeky just went top horns, top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. Absolutely beautiful. You get out of your seat. I don't know. Were you going to the bathroom? Were you getting a drink or something like that? And you missed the 2-on-1 that leads to David Pastrnak getting that second goal. Absolutely beautiful. But it's funny because it's such a lackadaisical shot just past the glove side of Alex Lyon. And then the shifts after that, the last 5 minutes of that period, the Bruins are hounding Buffalo. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy game. Second period, things are slowing down. You give up a power play goal to Rasmus Dahlin. But then, again, you get up. Mark Kastelik puts one in the back of the net. Just a grindy goal. Corrali and Jeannot keep throwing pucks at the net. The puck trickles behind Alex Lyon, and Mark Kastelik dives behind to get the goal. So, 3-1 Bruins going into the intermission. You got to be feeling good about it. And then the third period starts. And I think we sat there and looked at ourselves and said, it doesn't feel like it's going well. We said this to the guy behind us. They're playing to not lose. They're not playing to win.
Yeah.
They're playing not to lose. And as soon as Josh Jones scored with at 7 minutes of the period, I'm like, oh, I can't wait in like 5 minutes when this game is all tied up and we're all booing. And Alex Tuck ties the game at 3. With the Bruins did challenge that for goalie interference. Yeah, I don't know.
It was marginal.
That to me, I thought it could have been called back. You said, I don't know. I looked at a lot of highlights in hindsight, and then I looked at the rationale that the NHL gave for why it wasn't called goalie interference. They said that Josh Doan did not push Henry Jokiharju into Joonas Korpisalo. That's bull. If that's the reasoning why they gave, that's total bull.
Yeah. I've got my own gripes to complain about officials right now for personal reasons, not related to the Boston Bruins, but 100%. I think that's bullshit. And I'm gonna go on a tangent about refs after we're talking about the Boston Bruins. But that was absolutely a situation where Jokiharju was pushed back into his goaltender. But the point that I brought up was I did feel like the goaltender had a chance to reset and make the save there. It wasn't enough of a direct impact upon the goaltender's ability to make his save. Now, as a goaltender, I would say, what the hell? He hit me. He was pushed into me. That's not my fault. That's no goal, because I'm going to try to get the goal wiped off the board every single time. But I think that the Stripes made the right call in this particular situation.
But if that was the reasoning that the NHL gave, if the NHL puts out these rationales really quickly, like within a couple minutes,
100%.
The rationale was Joonas Korpisalo was given enough time to reset after getting pushed in, and that's why it's a good goal. Fine, I'll take it.
Right.
But the rationale was that Josh Doan did not push Henry Jokiharju.
But he literally did. It's on video.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what happens?
The Bruins go, the end of the third period, Bruins end up on the power play, goes to overtime, nobody scores. Turned in a little bit of a boat race there too, but Marat Kusnedinov comes in on what ended up being a 3-on-1. Watching that play after the game, what's Buffalo doing? Rasmus Dahlin comes into the offensive zone, blows his tires. Tage Thompson tries to go for the puck instead of realizing that Friedman is right there anyway. He's just going to steal that puck away. He tries to go for the poke, completely misses it. Now there's 3 Bruins behind. Minton gets that puck to Kusnedinov. And I think we saw this on Fraserman's overtime goal earlier in October.
Yes.
Kusnedinov on the blue line realizes he's being given the room, skates in, back towards the hash marks, back towards the dot, back in towards the middle of the ice, changes his angle to make it just a little bit nicer, and just snipes one past Alex Lyon. Game over. Bruins win. We all go home happy. enough.
Can I just not say enough beautiful things about Fraser Minton?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he really is. I almost think he's like a more effective version of Charlie Coyle at times. Like, he's a little smaller, which is fine, but he's where he needs to be every single time. And I feel like every game that goes by, he's becoming a more effective NHL player. And I know he doesn't get the goal here, but he makes the savvy play and dishes over to Murat, who finishes it here. And just really, really thoroughly impressed by Fraser Minton to this point this season. And I think it was the right call to have him make this team. So,
Are there times like I want to see him get on the scoreboard more often? I don't think he has that many points this season in general. I think he's got 2 goals and 2 assists this season, so he's not exactly lighting up on the scoreboard. But you are not wrong. I think I rarely, if ever, say I don't like what Fraser Minton did there. I think
yeah,
it's so much of that was really look at that hockey IQ. He made the smart play. He made the right play.
yeah.
It will show up. I wonder what his PDO looks like right now, but it will show up because he's doing the smart things. He clearly earned the trust of Marco Stern for the way he's playing, and it's showing. And you know what? Let's see how it develops. Brandon Carlo has not looked phenomenal in Toronto, so I wonder if this turns into another lopsided trade with Minton and another first rounder coming our way there. This could be another lopsided trade from Toronto that they're regretting.
So right now, Fraser Minton's PDO is 95.9. So still a little unlucky.
But it's like bang average, pretty much.
Yeah. But still, like, the eye test is there for a reason. And
Yeah.
like you said, there hasn't been a moment where I look at what Fraser Minton is doing and be like, what is Fraser up to? Which that happens a lot with young players in the NHL. You're like, what are you up to there, buddy? Like,
It happens to me a
probably
lot with
shouldn't have done
veterans.
that.
I look at Victor Arvidsson and I kind of go like, okay, you got the shot off, but at what cost? Or like, his little legs have to churn so much to skate, and he's a fast skater. But like, dude, you just blew by that.
Well, why don't we talk about Victor Arvidsson and his performance in the next game against the
Mhm.
Carolina Hurricanes? So once again, the schedule doesn't get any easier for the Boston Bruins. Who do you have but an Eastern contender coming to town? Carolina is already off to a really good start to the season. Really, really tight defensive game. Jeremy Swayman gets the start after what I thought was interesting the previous 2 games. We can talk about this maybe a little later, but Korpisalo goes back to back in those games after
Yeah,
that Ottawa performance by Swayman. But Swayman gets back in the crease, and what does he do? Jake, why don't you explain what he did?
they won. I'm sorry,
They
they
won.
won. Jeremy
They
Swayman looked great.
won.
I know. Jeremy Swayman looked calm, cool, and collected. We said this on our way walking into the Buffalo game. They had to be saving Swayman for this game. Swayman looked so composed all the way around. Huge credit to him for looking as good as he did. And granted, did the Bruins offense look phenomenal? No.
No.
Freddie Anderson, when he's on his game, is a great goaltender. Carolina has some very good defenders, even as hurt as they are. But Casey Middlestat on a 2, it was like a 4-on-2 that turned into a 2-on-1, and Charlie McAvoy makes a delicious cross crease pass to Middlestat to pot one in. And
It
then
gets
how about
chipped
Victor
away from Middlestat,
Arvidsson?
and he
Say that
still
again?
gets it in. I was
Yeah.
saying that it gets chipped away, and Middlestat still gets the hands in there to chip it by the goaltender's pad. So yeah, great play.
But how about Victor Arvidsson with his little legs churning? Middlestat flips the puck up because Victor Arvidsson gets behind Alexander Nikishin, and he blows right by everybody, gets that nice semi-breakaway, and flings a great wrister past Freddie Anderson to make it 2-0. At that point, the Garden was roaring. Like, that looked like fun hockey. And the Bruins don't give up a goal until late in the third, and they pretty much shut down Carolina otherwise, and that's that.
Yeah, the Canes fans were not happy with this one. They were like, "You lost to the 25-26 Boston Bruins." Like, that is like the blueprint that Marco Stern was talking about. We talked about the Colorado win earlier. This was even better. This was absolutely better because I just genuinely felt like the Bruins did such a great job. They were like a wet blanket over everything that Carolina was trying to do. They were not able to generate nearly any of the looks. I think my biggest highlight was, I don't even know which Carolina Hurricane it was. They tried to do the Michigan, and McAvoy blew him up behind the net. And I was like, that's what should happen after every time somebody tries to do the Michigan. And I loved it.
I think this is going to be one of Charlie McAvoy's better games.
100%.
On his Rolodex for the season.
Best game of the season for Charlie McAvoy, as far as I'm concerned. And I think that probably coincides with him being matched up with Nikita Zadorov.
I think Zadorov's looked much better this season than he did last year.
Absolutely. I think Zadorov's been their best defenseman all season, taking all things into consideration. So if you can keep Zadorov at that pace, if you can have McAvoy pick it up a little bit, and you can have Hampus Lindholm inserted back in the line, it's no surprise they're 3-0.
Won 4 out of the last 5.
4 out of the last 5, right? But I have a question for you, Jake. How much of that coincides with the benching of Mason Lohrei? And how much responsibility does Mason Lohrei face for the losses during that streak?
Is this a good transition into studs and duds, my dude?
I think so. Why don't we go to our wonderful sponsors, and then we'll go ahead and bring it back for studs and duds. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. This season of the Two Pad Stack podcast is proudly brought to you by 3 incredible sponsors who keep us looking good, feeling good, and game ready all year long. First up, Vital Ink Tattoo. If you know me, you know I've gotten more than a few tattoos from the crew over at Vital Ink in Barrington, New Hampshire. They're all about making sure you're comfortable, your vision comes to life, and you walk out with ink you'll love for the rest of your life. Plus, the shop has a fun vibe, witty banter, good people, and top-tier artists. If you're thinking about your next piece, Vital Ink is where you want to be. We're also sponsored by Dirt Skincare. Dirt is made for guys who don't want to overthink their routine, but still want to look and feel their best. Whether you're blocking shots on the ice or braving another Boston winter, Dirt keeps your face hydrated, healthy, and protected. Face the day like it's game day at the Garden and rub some dirt on it. And last, but definitely not least, Spicy Edges Skate Sharpening. Want your skates dialed in by somebody who actually knows what they're doing? Head over to Spicy Edges in Rochester, New Hampshire, where sharpening is done on a real machine by hand, not some automated box. Go see Cam, and he'll take care of you for some custom blade grinds, CAG1 profiling, and steel replacement, all with precision to match your style of play. Whether you're a beer league bender, a high school sniper, or just getting started, Cam's got your edges covered. Plus, they've got sticks, laces, tape, steel, and more to keep you game ready. Call or text Cam at 603-866-9668. Spicy Edges Skate Sharpening. Get sharp, stay spicy.
Let's also not forget hockey season is back. And this season, DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner in the NHL. It'll bring you all the skill, speed, and nonstop action you love. With the way Morgan Geeky's on a heater right now, I think he scored in 6 straight games. Maybe it's worth putting a Morgan Geeky anytime goal into your parlay. New customers, if you haven't done this yet, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. I got through this. I know it sucks to have it because we have to keep you guys safe. Like the lamp all season long with DraftKings, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN to throw $5 and $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. And in Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-788-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot BC Anyone Resort in Kansas. Pass-thru or per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. And for additional terms and responsibly gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. Okay.
Whoa, you nailed it. Well done. All right. So, in case you weren't aware, that's the first time we've done that read live. So, kudos to Jake for doing that one there. We're trying a few new things on this episode here. So far, so good. But yeah, we're back. So let's jump right into studs and duds. I'll go ahead and get started with mine, so I can give you a second to breathe after that wonderful reciting that you did, Jake. So it's been a little while since we did studs and duds. It's a good segment to bring us back. We did a lot last year. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my stud, and who other than friend of the show, Morgan Geeky. Been super impressed with Geeky, as Jake had previously mentioned. David Pasternak had already mentioned that Geeky could easily hit 50 in this league. Now, I think that was probably pumping his tires a little bit. I'm not sure that Geeky's a 50-goal guy, but hey, he's already got 9 goals in the season and 2 assists. So he's got 11 points in the season. We are 14 games into the season at this point. So, I mean, the math's math in there. He very easily could be a 40, 45. Maybe if he gets lucky and goes on a heater later on the season, 50 is viable. So, yeah, I mean, Morgan Geeky is my stud of the week. The thing that I really love most about him right now is his release. He gets that shot off quickly, and he is very, very, very accurate. When the puck is on, heading toward him, sometimes it bounces off his stick. Sometimes he doesn't quite handle the one-timers as well as he could have. If you can dial that in, man, he could be a 60-goal scorer. So, super, super impressed with Morgan so far. I think that the sky's the limit with this guy, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the season looks like. My dud, Henry Jokiharju, really kind of disappointed with this guy. And I know, like, when he signed the deal, nobody was expecting the second coming of Bobby Orr, right? He's a depth guy. He fit a need on the right side that this team was really vacated by, and they needed to address. But I'm like Office Space. I'm like, what do you say you do here, right? You're supposed to be a reliable bottom pair guy that is somebody you don't notice on a regular basis. And yet, I mentioned it on the last episode. It seems like a forwards on the opposing teams are able to just walk right around him on, the word is unmolested that I'll use. Jack Edwards special. Just unmolested, you're able to walk right through the crease and tuck it, especially in that Vegas game. I forget who it was, but they were just able to walk right across the crease. Henry Jokiharju looked like that meme of the security
I think you're talking
guard.
about Bill Carlson's goal. Will Carlson.
Yes, yeah, William Carlson. And right as he goes across the crease and just tucks it. But Jokiharju looked like that security guard meme where he doesn't actually touch anybody and he's supposed to be touching people, like just letting everybody through. I'm like, what are we doing here? So really thoroughly unimpressed with Henry Jokiharju. And for that point, he is my dud of the week.
I have a great clip of you. I was trying to record some of that late power play in the third period in again the game against Buffalo. I had a great little 6-second clip of you with Jokiharju on the PP2 with the puck on a stick, and you just go, "What the fuck are you doing on the ice?" And then he proceeds to hit the post, and you go, "Oh, that."
That happens to me so much. I just yell at somebody on my TV. I'm like, "What is this guy doing?" And then they score a goal immediately after. I was like, "Oh, that's what he's doing." Oh yeah, that's great. So yeah, recap my studs and duds. Stud Morgan Geeky, dud Henry Jokiharju. Jake, over to you.
My stud is a guy that isn't always on the score sheet. He was recently, but I think he totally is emblematic of what I think the 25-26 Bruins have to be. And he not only lives up to it, he plays like it every single game. And it's Mark Kastelik. His forecheck is on point every single game. It is never for a lack of effort to finish a check, to have his stick in the right place, to be in the right place on the ice, to be an agitator when he needs to be. He's putting pucks in the back of the net like he did against Buffalo. It's showing up a little bit more on that score sheet. It seems to be much more of a leader on the fourth line. I know Sean Corrali is back, which is great for Bruins fans that he's back in his second stint. But I really think that Mark Kastelik is making his extension worth it for Don Sweeney. I think he is the kind of smart, gritty, balanced player who will surprise you by putting pucks in the back of the net that you want on a modern NHL fourth line. So kudos to Don Sweeney and kudos to Mark Kastelik for getting themselves aligned and keeping him in Boston for a couple more years. My dud is Mason Lohrei. And I actually have a quote pulled up from Marco Sturm from yesterday about Mason Lohrei's little stint in the press box. He should be pissed. He should be very pissed. He works very hard in practice. He's ready, but he has to wait for his opportunity. I think that's the goal, having him out and being a little bit different when it comes to being back. Watching from upstairs, watching other players, what they do well, what they do wrong. It's a learning process for him right now. I think we all forget exactly how young Mason Lohrei is. He's still such a baby, even though this is his third season with the Bruins. He's 24. He's still a baby in regards to this league and has a lot to learn. And I don't know whether it's him trying to find his identity in what Marco Sturm's system is like. Marco Sturm's system is clearly much more emphasis on the defense, and that doesn't work well for Mason Lohrei, who's a much more offensively driven defenseman and needs to be paired with a guy who's shut down on the back end, and that's how he's more effective. He can't be relied on to make the most effective defensive decisions, and it's clearly hurting him. That's why he's been up, and Jonathan Aspero's taking his slot on the third line the last few games. Is Aspero going to put the puck in the net at the same clip? No. But is Aspero way more solid of a player defensively? Absolutely. I think I said it too in the game against Buffalo. Aside from that first Buffalo goal, or maybe like the first 5 minutes of the first period, I didn't notice Aspero, and that's a good thing. I said that a lot about Michael Callahan last year. You don't notice them, and that's exactly what you want out of a third pairing guy. Lohrei has the ceiling to be so much more, but he's on the floor at this point. And so hopefully, like Casey Middlestat, like Murat Khusnutdinov, Marco Sturm said this as well. When Casey was scratched, he was pissed, and he learned, and he came back, and he's put a couple goals in the back of the net. Murat Khusnutdinov, when he was scratched, he was pissed. He put in the hard work. He scored the overtime goal in the game against Buffalo. He's been on the top line with, I don't know who's going to be sending there now, but he did play a game with Elias Lindholm and David Pastrnak on the top line, and he's come back and looked like a very good NHL player. So I'm hoping the same for Lohrei, but he's on the floor right now. He's my dud right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree with both of your picks. Really, really enjoying. I think that Mason Lohrei not playing is probably the right play. And Marco Sturm came out and he's like, he should be pissed. He should be pissed that he's being scratched right now. And you saw what happened to Murat Khusnutdinov. Murat Khusnutdinov was pissed, and he got back in the lineup, and he made the best of it. Scored that OT-GWG. Casey Middlestat was also pissed. Gets scratched, comes back. And I think Casey's been a good Bruin so far. I think he's been performing decently well. He was
my dud in the last episode at Backhill, and I'm very happy to take him out of that slot. I think he's focused up in the last couple games.
100%. Really enjoyed what he's done so far, and I think he's got that scoring touch that we need. I think he's got 4 goals on the season already, maybe.
You gotcha.
So yeah, really, I like your picks there too. So let's go ahead and pivot a few other topics here that we want to touch on before we wrap up today's episode. Curious, now that we've seen maybe, the up, the down, the backup, what is the expectation of a Boston Bruins team led by Marco Sturm, Jake? Like, what is this just what we should expect from here on out?
For this year, yeah, I think so. I think that we're going to see some changes over the next year or two. I think they've got some semblance of a good core defensively, but I don't think that they play the system that Marco Sturm wants. And so I bet we'll see some rotation there, especially on the depth side of things. I see Marco. We saw this so much in that Buffalo game. He plays a 3-2 neutral zone. He wants to jam up that neutral zone so quickly and not even allow guys to get into the zone. Buffalo was able to get right around it. Buffalo, it was the dump and chase or the dump and, I guess, hope to get the puck, but we saw a lot of that 3-2 neutral zone clogging, and it works against some teams. It doesn't work against some teams. But on the offensive side of things, I think he lets guys just do their thing. The lines have been in a bit of a blender, But I don't think it's been for without cause. I think we saw in the end of the Jim Montgomery tenure and a lot in Joe Sacco, a lot of panic blending, especially in game. Have we seen certainly some very interesting line combinations come out of practice and put in game situations? Absolutely. But I think that Marco trusts that, okay, I have to see it for 60 whole minutes. It's not just, all right, 20 minutes isn't working. I'm going to flip this around and just hope for the best. Like, I don't see Marco panic in a 60-minute effort. And I think that kind of calmness will start to permeate itself into this Bruins team. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I would like to see a little more stability, like maybe 3 wins, 1 loss, 2 losses in a row, like maybe stop the bleeding a little sooner than 6 games in a row losing. But, it's going to be a back and forth season regardless for the Boston Bruins. And I think what really needs to happen this year is for this coaching staff to make sure that they can pull them out of those skids before they get to 3-4 games and, kind of reassess, collect themselves, and plan for the next one and kind of get this team to galvanize together to try to fight their way. Because this does, I've mentioned it before, this team reminds me of that team that was trying to make a name for themselves in the late 2000s and say, hey, we're not the Dave Lewis Boston Bruins anymore. We are a team that is one that's hard to come in here at TD Garden and play against, or the Fleet Center, if you will, back in the day. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues. One thing that it's interesting to know, and you already kind of talked about it a little bit, Jake, was Elias Lindholm goes down. Murat Husnudinov gets maybe the interim promotion to 1C. What does the loss of Elias Lindholm mean for this team? Now, it hasn't come out how serious it is. It's been reported that it's week to week, at least a couple of weeks. He had an MRI. The results of the MRI hasn't come out. And I'm going to interpret that as if it was bad, we would have already heard about it. So probably still, we can expect the next couple of weeks to not have Elias Lindholm. What does this mean for the Boston Bruins here?
I think there has to be a call up. Watching the way that they tried to double and triple shift guys like Mikey Eastman and Fraser Minton in between, and that's where I think he had to throw the lines in the blender and be like, oh crap, we just lost our top line center. We got to figure this out. But I think that with the way Providence is looking, it might behoove them to make a call. I think there are guys down there who I think are deserving of it. That's my
Well, now that you mentioned that, who do you think should be getting the call up if we do a call up?
I think there's a couple names who we've seen do really well. I'll let you take the surprise name, but
Okay.
Matty Patra has been playing top line center minutes in Providence, and I think would slot in pretty well. How about Matty Patra this weekend, showing the piss and vinegar that Cam Neely's been looking for? He fought Jack Devine of the Charlotte Checkers and won. I'm sorry, did I put all of those words in the same sentence together? Matty Patra fighting and winning, but also he's been a decent player. He doesn't necessarily lead the P Bruins in goals or assists or points, but I think if they need a plug for now, I think that Matty Patra is probably my guy that you call up. Patra, let me just look. Yeah, Patra has 6 points in 9 games. He has 6 assists. So he hasn't necessarily found the back of the net, but he's playing solid minutes. He's playing top line minutes with I had those lines up just a second ago, but I don't know. Oh, he was playing with Dan Zlotmelis and Georgi Merkulov on the top line today. So
yeah,
I don't know.
so
it's Patra or Patrick Brown. Brown has like the 4th most points in the AHL behind our nice surprise guy that you're about to mention.
Yeah, so you mentioned the Patra fight. Let's just go ahead and take a quick peek at that.
DiPietro, a lone shot. That one ricochets off the back of the cage. Merkulov, and now Patra's going to go at it. There they go. Patra with Devine inside of the far corner. Patra drops.
So I don't know if the audio came through, but anyways, he comes through in the corner and they're just going at each other. Patra buries him behind the net, and the defender gets up and goes at Patra And what does Patra do? He just fucking throws hands and buries the defender more. So
it's so funny
kudos.
because Billy Sweezy's right there. You could see him in that frame. That's Billy Sweezy's role. That's not Matty Patras's role. I can't believe that Potsy at all, 5'10" of him he probably is, was like, you know what? I'm going to go at this. This is my time to shine, and just totally let loose.
Yeah, I was very, very, very impressed. So yeah, Potter's the guy there. That's the easy answer, especially with the center going down. I mean, it would be fun to see Matty Potter on the top line with like Geeky or Zaka or obviously David Pasternak. So that'll be interesting to see what happens here. Any other names that come out to you? Not my surprise name. Don't take that from me. But
no, the other name I said was Patrick Brown, maybe Mate Blumenau, but I don't know. Your name is gonna be really fun. I can't wait for people to hear the reaction for this one.
Yeah. Who else than Riley Tufte? Everybody.
And why?
When the Boston Bruins signed Riley Tufte, everybody was like, "Who's this guy?" And to be honest, I don't really blame them. But Riley Tufte, he is, currently tied for AHL scoring right now. 9 games played, 7 goals, 7 assists. And he arguably is leading because the other guy that's tied with him has 1 other game played, which is Danton Heinen from the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Former Bruin. So Riley Tufte just absolutely dominating the AHL so far this year. Unfortunately, he's not a center, so there's that whole thing to kind of take into consideration. But if we are going to be a merit-based organization and promote the players that deserve to be promoted, do you not go with Riley Tufte? I feel like you have to go with Riley Tufte. You have to reward him for his performance that he had so far in the AHL.
So I watched a lot of Riley Tufte before his NHL career as someone who spent a lot of time in the college hockey scene. Tufte played at University of Minnesota Duluth, won, I believe, a national championship at Duluth in his sophomore season, and then signed with the Dallas Stars. Things never really translated. Kudos to him because he clearly looks like he's a much better player to start this season in Providence. So why not give him a shot? Because I know what his ceiling is. He led Minnesota Duluth, which is a great, great college hockey program, in scoring his sophomore year when they won the national title. Granted, it was 29 points in 42 games, but still, the NCHC is no joke. The NCHC and Hockey East to me are like the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference of the NHL. They are like the 2 premier conferences in college hockey. So kudos to Riley Tufte for starting to find some of that form and maybe translate it back to the pro level.
Yeah. So that's my call for a surprise / not so surprising call up. It wouldn't surprise me to see Riley Tufte get his name on the call up list here for AHL transactions. And before we wrap up, why don't we go ahead and have some fun, and we'll talk a little bit about Halloween. So I hope everybody here that's tuning in had a wonderful Halloween with their family. Hopefully you guys had some good candy, gotten some fun costumes. And what better than to dive in and take a peek at some of these awesome costumes that the Boston Bruins had. And I'll go ahead and bring you through the pictures. Jake, I'm going to need you to break down the players that we're showing here and the costumes and give them like a rating, like 1 out of 10 on effort and execution here. So why don't you jump in here?
Oh, yeah. So to start off, we've got Charlie McAvoy and his wife Kylie going as Elphaba and Glinda from Wicked. I'm laughing so hard at this. In the game against Buffalo, it was Charlie McAvoy's time for Bruins beats. I'm sure this was pure range, but his Bruins beat was Defying Gravity, which made me cackle so hard. And he looks like he's having a blast in this photo. Give me like a 9 out of 10 here. Great execution, nice, consistent, solid paint on Kylie. He looks like he's having a blast. That's a well-executed costume. Give me a 9.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, 9 out of 10. Next up.
This is Jeremy Swayman and his fiance. I believe her name is Alessandra, Alexandra, something like that. I'll butcher this. I'm so sorry, hon. They are at Dorothy and the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. I guess we have some sort of like a Wizard of Oz Wicked theme going on here. I would give it a 9. I'm gonna dock it a point because Sway's mustache is out and proud here. It is so distracting. It looks like a Tin Man out of an 80s porno scene. And so, granted, the effort's all there. I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. But also, he could have painted his arm silver. Those sleeves, you can see that cuff coming up on that right arm. Like, you could have gone a little harder there. So I'm bringing it down to an 8.
Okay, 8.5 for me here. The Dorothy's, it's okay, but I'll give Sway all the credit in the world for the Tin Man. I gotta critique him. It's a little insensitive to go gray face. It's a bad look, but hey. All right, so moving on, we have our next one. We have Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I mean Zadorov.
And so I need you to show me this, and I need you to go to the next one for me.
All right, next one.
Who did it better, Nikita Zadorov or Johnny Beecher? And I gotta give credit to Beach here. I think it looks more natural. If you look at both of their girlfriends' shirts, he looks like she's been in the rough and tumble. It looks like she just grabbed that out of the laundry and threw it on. And his grease on Zadorov's shirt looks like he just stuck his hand on his tire and just went, oh, okay, now I got it. I'm okay. Yeah. I think that they might have scrambled last minute there.
It looks like a low effort costume.
Yeah, both of them are low. Both of them are like 5s. They're both low effort costumes. Like, you can very easily just go in your closet and fuck up a white shirt and call it a day.
Exactly. All right, next up we have this wonderful one.
We have Mark Catholic and his fiancee Paige going as Matilda and Principal Trunchbull from Matilda. No notes. Absolutely no notes. The high bun on Mark with the shot put, the bow and the headband, the book, the fact that she's got, I appreciate when it's not completely obvious that Paige is holding a copy of Matilda in her hand. So okay, now I make that connection. So anybody can get it. No notes. 10 out of 10. Well done.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I agree. Well done. Just like Mark does on the 4th line for the Boston Bruins. Well done. Next up.
This is Tanner Janot, and I don't know whether it's his wife or girlfriend. I don't keep up on every single relationship.
They're married. Yeah, they are married. His wife.
But going as a bull and a cowboy, it's a 4. Come on, Tanner. You got to do better than throwing on a hood and calling it a day. You could have gone for the whole shebang. Even if you just got like one of those cheap spirit costumes, like something that looked more like an actual bull and just kind of throwing on something, it looks like you're wearing like a Viking helmet meets a priest's hood. It doesn't work. I think there's even a loop on there that's supposed to be the bull's like a bull ring. So I don't even know if he's wearing the mask correctly. It doesn't work for me. Sorry, dude. It doesn't work.
3.5. 3.5 for me. But opposite of 3.5, here we have
12 out of 10. I just need to get the rank out of there. 12 out of 10. This is my favorite of the bunch. Because would you know that that's Murat Huseninov and his wife Sophia? Would you know that without actually looking at who is tagged in it? They went ham on these costumes. The little gap in Murat's tooth, it's like it channels Johnny Depp from that movie. Sheer brilliance. They went so hard. My absolute favorite of the lot.
The execution on this one, particularly by like even both of them, like I am like so supremely impressed by Sophia's makeup here and the wig and the little crown. But then I'm like, the logical eyesight progression goes from Sophia over here on the left over to Murat. And I'm like, Murat with the just clueless look on his face for the Mad Hatter. He nails it, dude. Like 14 out of 10, no notes, excellent execution. Really, really well done.
10 out of 6, just like the hat.
Exactly. Who do you have here?
You got Jeremy VL and his partner,
Jeff VL, yeah.
Jesse Pinkman and Walter White.
Yep.
Which I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I appreciate that he took the back seat on this one and went as Jesse Pinkman. Great job with the fake goatee on his partner for Walter White. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's a good look. It's a classic.
I got to give -1s for Boston Lager by Sam Adams. -1.
It's fine.
There's
You're more the beer connoisseur than I am, so I'll let you take that point.
Yeah. And finally, we have Jordan Harris and his partner as Harry Potter and Gryffindor characters.
Random Gryffindor here and there. If I gave Johnny Beecher and Nikita Zadorov a 5 out of 10, I guess I give this a 5.5 out of 10. It's definitely more effort than just grabbing a white shirt out of your closet, but it's still just it's now a low effort costume because these things are just popping up everywhere. They've got the Harry Potter shops everywhere. You can order the Harry Potter merch whenever. It's something that can just sit in a closet for you. You can pull it out. Like, it's low effort to me. And the scar, come on, you could have gotten like maybe a little latex, a little spirit gum. You could have made that pop a little bit rather than just, oh crap, I took an eyebrow pencil and had to put on a little scar there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that was a fun little segment here. Kudos to Jake for suggesting it. I think it was a fun thing to add. I just threw if you're on our YouTube, remember guys, we're on YouTube. We're going to do videos here. I think we're going to try to do videos on Spotify as well. So make sure you toss us a follow and like and subscribe or whatever it is on YouTube. Get us over there. We have a nice little QR code that'll bring you right to our website right up here. Please go ahead and scan that, get on our website and find our socials there. But on behalf of myself and Jake, this is a fun episode. We'll get back to it. We're trying to be more regular on the cadence here. It's tough. I'm a busy man. Jake's a busy man. It's we'll do our best. But it's been a lot of fun chatting with you, Jake. Appreciate your time. Any closing thoughts for today's episode?
Can I officially say happy holidays now that we're past Halloween? I think Mariah Carey thought herself out. Can I say happy holidays to everyone? I think we can start. Hopefully the Bruins here have some happy holidays, but I think we can start saying it.
Yeah, happy holidays to everybody, to whatever you celebrate. My daughters have already busted out our Christmas tree because Halloween's done. It is upstairs and put together and everything. I apologize to those that believe in like a real tree. We are an authentic tree, pre-built plastic tree household because I don't want to go out and bring pine needles into my house every single year. But yeah,
I'm
really,
sure Bill would take it down and create a ginormous mess regardless, too, man.
Oh, he absolutely would. And the German Shepherds would help. Berg and Zelda would do that absolutely as well. So, but yeah, it was great. Happy to be back. And we'll try to, like I said, we'll try to be a little bit more regular in recording. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, Dirt Skincare, Spicy Edges, Skate Sharpening, Vitalink, SeatGeek. Once again, if you're looking for an event to go and see live, go ahead and use promo code 2PadStackPod. Go ahead and save some money off of your first purchase. And if you're going on DraftKings, use promo code THPN. Until next time, I will see you later. Peace.